I just want to start this by saying I apologize for the quality of the videos for the last couple of days. I've been sick. I've been feeling like hell. That's why I didn't show my face or put too much effort into the videos. I wasn't up to it, but I'm still sick now. But hopefully things are going to be a little bit better. Now on to the story. In the UK, it is claimed that the unemployment rate is now the lowest that it's been since the 1970s. That'd be 4.5%. And even capitalism in general for the United States, Canada, and the UK, 5 to 6% is considered full employment. Anyone who wants a job can have one right away. It's out there for anyone just to take. Yet, the Office of National Statistics seems to feel a little bit differently, and all the people who have been long-term unemployed also seem to feel a bit differently as well. The household data suggests that the rate of unemployment is 3 times greater than the government's actual statistics. Of course, we know there's a difference between the unemployment rate and the real unemployment rate. As anyone who has studied basic economics, basically, they know this. In reality, the real unemployment rate is probably about 21.5%. Which is astronomically different than the 4.5% we are being fed by politicians, and by us, I mean the people in the UK are being fed by the government as people age 16 to 24, or about 8.83 million people according to the Office for National Statistics. Here's how it works. First, the official numbers from the ONS are showing unemployment at 4.5%. Their argument is that the people who are taking time off or have given up looking for work or work at home to look after their family don't count as part of the workforce. In the UK and the US, technical full employment has, as a rule of thumb, historically been placed at an unemployment rate of 5 to 6%. When unemployment gets that low, it generally means that anyone who wants a job can have one. Now, this is historically meant in economic terms as a beneficial to labor. Workers can threaten to go somewhere else if they don't get higher wages, and the lack of people looking for work means the wages are going to rise as employers are competing for people to get into their particular company and working for them. Yet, we see the exact opposite. We're seeing terrible wages, the absolute bare minimum wage, and people almost going lifelong with them for decades. We see the gig economy, people essentially renting themselves out for temporary gigs in order to get by, which end up becoming their full-time job. Things like Uber, Lyft, Uber Eats. The whole gig economy kind of thing is really exploding, has really taken off in the last couple of years, but we're supposed to believe that everything is rosy now because unemployment is so low, and that means wages will be going up and it'll be beneficial to workers. Well, we can see quite the opposite. Wages in the private sector have not started to rise. Public sector wages are capped at 1%. There's been little uptick in new higher rates, but the overall trend is flat. This is part proof that shows that the real unemployment can't be just 4.5%. More important, wages are not keeping pace with inflation. Here is the wage growth after inflation has been taken out. Workers' real incomes are actually in decline, which is weird because so-called full employment ought to be spurring wages upwards. Overall inflation ought to be driven by wage inflation, yet wage inflation isn't happening. In reality, about 21.5% of British workers are either officially unemployed, inactive, or employed part-time, even though they really want full-time work. So we can see there's a very clear discrepancy between what we're being told by the government and the reality on the ground. If this economic law were to hold true, this would be a worker's environment, which it isn't. And I believe that very beneficial to a worker's environment is what led to a lot of the Thatcherite reforms in the 1980s. Unions were getting too powerful. Wages were too high in their opinion, the bourgeois opinion, but we could be a whole other thing that we can go into about the economics of wages, etc. under capitalism. But that's beyond the scope of this video. We are very clearly seeing the opposite. 21.5% unemployment rate. Many people now getting stuck into terrible minimum wage jobs, and they're terrible only because the job treats them terribly. There's nothing wrong with taking a service industry job. There's nothing wrong with being there and doing that work. There is something wrong with the way you're treated for doing it. That's what's wrong. That's what's unacceptable. Look at it like this. Economists have done studies that show that people who work for Uber don't actually make any money. They lose money. When you factor in things like fuel and wear and tear on a car, they actually lose money rather than making it. So if people who work for Uber end up giving money to Uber for free. But it doesn't appear that way when you're doing it. And this almost would probably be very similar to what you would have with Uber Eats. I'm just saying Uber because that's the most common, ride-sharing program that everybody is familiar with. So when the Office of National Statistics in the UK tries to tell you that unemployment rate is really, really low, so get out there and grab that job that doesn't exist, you can point them to these statistics and call them liars right to their faces. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.